Shatter the Vain.
We got to kick this off appropriately.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Hey, nice to finally meet in real life.
Yeah, so this is episode 195 of Shatter the Vain, and I've got Jeff from Halcyon Masters joining.
Oh, well, thank you for having me into the Loose Keys studio.
Yeah, you brought the beer. I have plenty back there, but you showed up with some great offerings here.
Well, I couldn't show up empty-handed. I mean, this really is kind of one of those. I knew you were just doing the Loose Keys beer cast.
Yeah, the Chicago Beer Pass.
Beer Pass, yep, that's right. And so, I thought it was fitting to kind of bring two different varieties. One, lager, which is my favorite type. And
okay.
I figured you'd like something a little bit more on the hoppy side, so I brought an American Pale Ale along with it.
Yeah, well, it works out. Like, we have the Chicago Pale Ale from Maplewood, and then you have the West Coast from Northern California from Firestone Walker. So we're kind of combining the Vainglory, Chicago, and California there.
Well, I got to give the California shout out to my family, actually. So I've got aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone from the Pacific Northwest all the way down into Southern California. So
awesome.
Really, the lager is for them.
Cool. So this is really going to be a different kind of episode of Shatter the Vain because we're just going to drink and chat.
That works perfectly for me.
I'm like 195 episodes in here. We got to mix it up, right?
We do. And I think between the two of us, we were sitting down and trying to coordinate what day we could actually we could make this work. And was it yesterday that I was like, hey, I'm free tomorrow night. Would that work for you? And
basically, I was like, just I have to drink some beer beforehand, but then I'll be ready.
And I had to, I was like, all right, I'm leaving the office at 6:15. I can get there. Yep, done. Perfect. So it worked out great.
So yeah, this is good. And it's a pretty interesting week of Vainglory because we also have a new hero, and you're often like diving into the lore and who these heroes are, and you just came off of like this choose your own adventure kind of thing that Sugar and Venom was putting together. Like, I didn't follow that as closely as I probably should have. So you would probably be better off explaining that than I would.
The Choose Your Adventure, I think, was genius. I can remember times where you just kind of, in middle school, we had the TI-84 calculators. And, I remember one of the programs that we'd download was always one of those, if-then, kind of, where you go on kind of the adventure of it. So when Sugar Venom said we're doing a choose your own adventure, it was an immediate flashback to middle school.
Yeah.
Saying, oh, I know where this is leading, or not knowing where it's leading, actually. So I do have to be honest. During the choose your own adventure, it was my wife's mother's birthday. So I was unable to listen to it live, which was slightly disappointing, but I got home, threw in the headphones while we were just chilling out for the rest of the night and listening to the the audio on demand. And it was so much fun to listen to both Tony being announced and then also Sugar Venom's kind of commentary in between while the community was choosing which direction to go. She would go back and she would talk about another part of the lore or how this fits into the larger kind of picture of everything. And then just that extra commentary on there really just adds, some different layers of depth down in there, which is what I find the most fascinating part about Vainglory.
Right. So what's fun, too, is she probably has to have all those written, right? The other paths that you went.
Oh, she does.
So to see those someday would probably be pretty awesome.
Well, we actually have all of them.
She shared them all. Okay.
We have all of them.
Oh, I thought she didn't share them all. Okay.
Oh, no. So if you actually pull up and you go into, you want to see something funny, what is my second favorite?
Vainglory lore.
Vainglory lore. I mean, I use that website more than probably anyone out there. So if we go into Vainglory lore and we take a look at it, and I don't think I've gone through every possibility of Tony's lore yet.
Okay.
Probably about 90% of them, but you kind of find one path that you're like, oh, did I go left here or right there? And then you find another one. So earlier today, I was just reading one where Tony actually gets a pair of teleport boots.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And, he kind of wishes himself, forward to a rock, and he just kind of jumps maybe 10 feet. And then he goes, all right, I want to get a little bit creative, and I want to see what happens or what's going on in the middle of Mount Lyell. And he wills himself into the middle of this thing, but he doesn't actually end up where he was supposed to end up. He ends up in the courtyard where all the ravens are, and the Storm Queen is sitting right in front of him.
Okay, in that like what's that? The loading screen or the choose your hero kind of screen.
It also happens to be the same area that in the Star Queen lore, where Celeste first meets all the ravens.
Okay.
Yeah, so kind of cool tie-in between those two things. But he has a conversation with the Storm Queen, and she goes, well, if you give me something that, I like, I'll let you go. If you say something I don't like, I'm feeding your eyes to the ravens.
Damn.
I know.
Okay.
So the fun part is, it's great writing. Mm-hmm. And it's well thought out, and it, fits in and really adds a depth to the game. So, if it hits those three things or is kind of fun and makes you smile, again, another great addition to the game.
All right, and her story, like her putting all this together, is pretty awesome because I think it was on like the Fold episode way back when she talked about how she got started and just the fact that she was basically a freelance writer for them. Like, hey, can you put this together? And now she had to be there the whole time to craft this giant world.
And I think she actually took it upon herself and said, you actually need me to do this.
Right. She's like, wait, I need a job and you need me, so let's figure this out.
Let's make this happen. And really just taking the bull by the horns and going for it.
So, that's awesome. Like, and now she can do whatever she wants to some degree. Like, she doesn't make the hero, but she makes the personality of the hero.
That's one part that I would love to see more about is the interaction between Sugar Venom, Chainsaw, Captain Nito, everyone involved in kind of bringing a hero onto the rise or onto the fold. Okay. And how much of it is, what do we need from, where's the story going to what does the game need?
Okay. I feel like it probably starts with the what cool abilities are there. Like what fun can we add to the game, and then the story has to work around that. Right?
Well, have you heard that they have like a 4x4 matrix in the lair where it's like fun and whimsical or dark and serious?
Right.
And then it's like kind of where does the hero fall on that spectrum?
I do remember them talking about that with the Cruel early on. Like, you can't have too many of those like evil dark heroes because the game takes this weird tone. You need to have more in that like that middle area, but also higher on that like pedal kind of like goofy fun. It is entertainment. It's a video game.
Yeah. So would pedal be your vote for most fun and whimsical?
Oh no, it would be Flicker.
Flicker?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's he just doesn't care. Like, he's like, I'm gonna do this now. Like, I don't care about you guys.
It's like, do you like my accent? I learned it in, graduate school, essentially.
And Pedal's super fun and whimsical, but kind of on a nicer scale. Like, I'm looking out for you guys. Like, I'm here to, I'm the Munyon Queen, kind of.
Kind of, yeah. I would have to put my vote for most fun and whimsical to Kashka.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Because there's a hero that really, she's probably best described as a sociopath, but all she's out there is to have fun.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
I bet her and Flicker could have some good parties. Like, Flicker would be like the DJ, and she's probably just out there like dancing.
But Vox is the DJ.
Oh, Vox is the DJ. Yeah, maybe is Flicker the promoter, the club promoter?
Flicker would just have like classical music on in the background, like just be, sipping his scotch and whiskey or something like that.
I can see that.
Yeah. Okay. I've got to strongly disagree on the fact that Flicker could DJ.
All right, maybe not. Yeah, just All right. So then Tony, I was talking to Angel Wolf on this last episode, and when you see Tony, if you don't know any of this lore, he just looks like Vox 2.0.
Arden 2.0.
Arden 2.0. Sorry, yeah. Vox in my head here.
Family.
I've been drinking, and we're talking about Vox. And
I am part of the, what was it, Halcyon Hops, or what was my name originally? Oh, you had something.
Oh, Halcyon Ales?
Halcyon Ales. Yeah. I might have to do an episode on that one.
Okay,
yeah. So we'll have you on my show.
That sounds
good.
And
we'll do Halcyon Ales.
I like it.
When they released the teaser, kind of the Storm Queen's video, I think that was our first glimpse at Tony, wasn't it?
Yeah, because when you first see it, I think it was on the stream, you were like, oh, new Arden skin.
That's exactly what I thought.
But then you rewind and you're like, oh, there's 2 mechanical arms.
Gauntlets.
And yeah.
And it didn't go all the way up the arm. It didn't cover his chest. Yeah, something was certainly different. And so Tony, it's going to be kind of fun to watch it because I really like Frankie's story. And for those of you out there who don't know who Frankie is the dwarf that is incarcerated with Grumpjaw and helps Grumpjaw escape.
Right.
He's also the dwarf in the alternative fate lore that creates Saw's tier 3 armor.
Okay.
And he is also the creator of Alpha. So he's one of these just master engineers. And actually in Tony's lore, Tony and Frankie meet up on one of the paths. And they get to go on like a little Bill and Ted's like ultimate adventure with a time traveling cube, which hopefully we get to explore a little bit more. But they're all part of the kind of the dwarf race. Yeah. And these guys are just really good at technology. And so I think those gauntlets that Tony has, are really meant for like demolition. So they're heavy hitting. They're going to kind of be, I almost think of them as like Arden's B.
Okay, yeah, right.
But it'll be interesting to see what they can do with it, because if it's they're built for demolition, so maybe there's something around that within the abilities that kind of come up.
Here's something. League, they threw out a lot of stuff in the past like year where you get to play with the terrain a lot, and you can build stuff and build bushes. What if Tony could punch through the walls and teammates can now move through that wall?
That would be amazing.
That'd be awesome. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm throwing that out there. I like this demolition idea. We probably now know more since we've recorded this what he can do, because this will come out like next week since we're recording.
It probably will. Maybe
everyone's like, these idiots.
People are going to be listening to him like, what is up with that? Well, I mean, Sugar Venom's sneaky, and she'll sneak a lot of the abilities into the lore. Okay. And so one of them is that he uses his gauntlets as, demolition gauntlets to actually like bust through rocks. So your idea, I mean, it's really feasible. Yeah.
I think it makes the environment you're playing in a lot more interesting, and would make the Sovereign's Rise and the Halcyon Fold both feel different now that you're Tony and you can punch through different walls and different paths and kind of move around the map.
Well, think about a dragon steel for that one.
Yeah.
So being able to get a melee character into the dragon's lair.
Yeah. You roll in with a flicker alt on the team, too.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think the demolition wall and flicker's alt would kind of be like all right, you demolish the wall, now do you do like a flank and like trick everyone, or is it like, hey, we're coming right through that hole?
I don't know.
I mean, that's like the perfect like jewel alt right there.
I like that.
The one ability that I was really hoping for when I first saw Grumpjaw, I'm like, ooh, I wonder if he can dig into the ground.
Okay. Yeah, there's a hero, League has a hero called Rek'Sai that can kind of do tunnels and go under the ground.
Yeah.
So.
I've actually, I've never played League.
Okay. I use it as a reference a lot because I've played it and I still watch some of it. So I kind of I look to that game. It's another 5v5 MOBA on a 3-lane map. So it's like, well, what's this game doing? Could we see something like that in this game?
Yeah. I mean, it's the most popular game ever made.
Right.
It's a pretty good reference point, but
sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, Vainglory was my first and only MOBA that I really ever played.
Okay.
Tried a couple out, but, I always just come back to Vainglory.
Oh, yeah. It's something, it's fun. I don't know. That's why I keep playing it. That's why I make content. That's why you make content.
It's exactly why I make content. I think, too, it's the community.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier before the microphone started recording, and I was saying, really, it came down to teammates and also, the people that were in my guild that were really kind of the inspiration to get started with the Halcyon Masters.
Yeah.
And then, they're part of the reason why I keep coming back. So, I'll flip on Discord in the middle of the day if I'm working from home and just, I'll be working and hanging out with the guys there.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's like you kind of build up friendships, which is, unique in this area.
And it's not as fun without friends that you're playing with sometimes, because I often solo queue, but then when you get in a game with friends or other people, you're like, oh, this is what you're supposed to. This is why everyone loves the game.
Yep. I will say I'm definitely a fan of party queue. So if I can get on with one or two friends and play, either 5v5 or anything like that, I think it's much more enjoyable. I know there's definitely something to be said to be making it Vainglorious Gold on solo queue. Like that's, a true test of skill.
Yeah.
But, for me, the game is so much more fun when you're on Discord. You can coordinate, you can talk, and
Yeah, I think I'm often recording videos, so I don't want someone else talking, so I don't. And then I'm like, all right, that took me 3. I don't want to play another game with someone else. Like, I'm done.
So what you're saying is that I should now stop talking for the rest of this episode. And
This is all about talking. This is beer and chat go together. So.
It is, yeah, that is very true. But yeah, I can see that one. You never know what someone's going to throw up on a Discord chat.
Yeah.
When I've done a couple of live streams, I'm always like, all right, guys, if you're in the Discord channel, we're live. Remember that. And especially if we're going to use that afterwards on YouTube. I don't know about you, but YouTube for me has been very finicky when it comes to demonetizing my videos.
Oh, for sure, yeah. You would think at this point, both of us, they would know this is only Vainglory content. There's nothing else here.
Exactly. And, I don't know. I'm not a very profane speaker, so that's the other part on it too. I'm like the content is pretty mild.
Right.
What advertiser friendly would be the word?
It involves, well, yours don't, but if they're gameplay videos, it involves killing people. So.
But an advertiser that's going to be advertising on a video game channel.
There's hardly a game that involves something not getting killed.
I mean,
right?
even the first Mario was squashing a mushroom.
Yeah.
I mean, Mario literally stomped on someone.
Oh. So yeah, I don't know about that demonetization and why it keeps happening. I know it sucks, and I don't enjoy it. I don't know how to put it any other way.
It's really funny too because it's like I don't make content for the YouTube revenue. It's just there's something about the principle of the fact when I see that yellow dot next to my video, I'm like, there is nothing wrong with this video.
Right. I don't know. Yeah, because there's not, for anyone that's wondering or looking to make Vainglory content, there's not a lot of money in it right now. It's a passion.
It is 100% a passion project.
Rumbly Superset, he gets money out of it, but he also has now 2 channels, and that's his full-time gig, and he also streams on multiple platforms. Like, he's putting in a lot of work, and one Vainglory channel is not making him enough money to live on at the moment.
No, and I mean, my hope is that it gets to that point where, we can have multiple streamers and content creators that are fully devoted to the game in the future. But, for the likes of you and I, it's, it's a passion project.
Yeah.
And then it's just my little thing about, green dots versus yellow dots on YouTube.
Yeah. I think I got them all green at the moment. We'll see.
I think I have the same thing.
This one now involves drinking and Vainglory, so we'll see what happens.
Just the mention of beer is probably going to get us demonetized.
Nice. Or maybe we'll get some monetization from Heineken or something like that.
Should we maybe promote one of these companies here? It's like, all right, so we're going to try the Charlatan American Pale Ale after this.
There we go, yeah.
After this awesome lager. We were not paid by Charlatan American's Pale Ale to say that.
Yeah, I'm not getting paid by any beer companies yet. I should work on that.
You really should work on that.
Yeah.
I may actually have an in for you on one of them.
Oh, okay. I get to go to beer events for free because I do a lot of stuff in the beer community, so that's fine.
Let me see if I can get a couple 6-packs shipped up here.
Oh,
see what you think.
Okay.
Your honest opinion on it, and then we'll go from there.
All right, I'm down for that. Cool.
Of course. So let's see some other fun stuff.
So Tony, first off, Tony. Let's go back to Tony. Angel Wolf and I didn't dive into who he is that much because I honestly haven't read all the story yet or know much about him. But hearing you talk about him and stuff, he sounds like definitely a departure from Arden. Like, how does he fit in with Arden?
So I don't even think Tony and Arden would really be, considered in the same area. So if we think of Arden, yes, he's a technologist. He is a group that kind of spun off and they use technology to kind of advance their faction's cause. And
Okay.
so, they are going to war with power gauntlets and suits of armor and really kind of rising up against the Storm Queen. The dwarves, however, if we go to where we first learn about kind of the dwarves in general, is from Varia's lore.
Okay.
So they go into, I think it's called the Forgotten Land. Don't quote me on that. I'm recalling from memory. And there's 2 mage princes that are at war with each other. And they've kind of conscripted these dwarves that are living underground to build all of their weapons and different parts for it.
Okay.
And then the Storm Queen sends a raven up to the World Seer. And he's this guy that's kind of floating on this giant, on the anvil. It's a giant library that's just kind of floating around the world of Vainglory. It's super high up, so it's not going to be affected by the churn. But she sends this raven up there, and it's like, hey, you can't escape me. So he sends Varia down to help out the Storm Queen.
Okay.
So step number 1 is she goes down and she persuades, and by persuades, I mean she pretty much just shocks him into submission, and gets the dwarves to come up to Mount Lyle and build all of the different things that we see on Sovereign's Rise.
Okay.
So all the turrets, those are all built by the dwarves.
Oh, okay. So you could almost say Arden is 1.0, the full kind of character and the world, and then the dwarves and Tony are now the 2.0.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Arden was in kind of this this struggle between the Storm Queen, Githia, and the Technologists. They're kind of these 3 factions that are fighting against each other. And then you have what the dwarves were doing was something kind of off to the side, or it's my understanding that they're off to the side.
Okay.
And the Storm Queen then takes the dwarves' abilities and brings it over, and then that's what's then kind of building what we have on the Rise. When we first meet Tony in the story, he's a demolition dwarf. So his whole job is to smash rocks.
Yeah.
Essentially. Okay. And he's tunneling down through this giant mountain, trying to find out what's in it. So when we first meet him, he's just breaking through that last barrier, and it kind of gets him into the center of the mountain. I don't know, have you seen Black Panther yet?
No, I haven't, yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic.
That's why I hear, yeah.
But, that's kind of what I'm picturing on this one is okay, so you go through all this rock and then boom, you get to this magical area in the middle of it where you have this well of power and, here's the churn and the Halcyon that are kind of fueling everything that the Storm Queen is trying to build.
Yeah.
And Tony was the one that was able to tunnel down to that area. And then once he breaks through, Pippa, who's another non-playable character that's introduced, pretty much tells him, all right, your job's done. Hey, good job. Leave it up to the engineers to take over from here. And so she kind of dismisses them. And then once she dismisses them, that's where the choose your own adventure starts.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yep. So then you get to choose, what do you do?
So we really have a base of a lot of characters that are possible now, right? This story feels like it opened up a lot of people too.
This story opened a lot of people.
Pippa, we have the Frankie, we also have, is it Melina? Malene, yeah.
Yes. So she's not part of this story, but she's certainly on the list of heroes that I'd like to see come to the Rise.
Yeah, because something with that, her mirror, some sort of doppelganger reflection kind of ability could be interesting.
Just her bludgeoning someone with the mirror would be enough.
I think that's the only characters that are jumping out at me that we've heard about and haven't seen yet. Because we will never see the Storm Queen on Sovereign's Rise. That just doesn't make sense.
No, she's too powerful.
Yeah.
We actually did a video on our channel recently of 11 heroes we thought might come to the game.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
11. Okay.
11.
All right.
Which didn't even include Tony or Pippa.
Okay.
So, we could probably knock that number up to 13 now.
What was your, what's the top couple that... I'll make sure I include a link to that video or
it's look right up into the upper right-hand corner right now. So Malene was certainly on the top of that one just because of the relationship with Blackfeather and Finn. So, they go after this princess to, strike it rich, essentially. They're going to kidnap the princess. They're going to sell her back to the family. They're going to live, fat and happy with all the money that they get from that one.
Yeah.
But they come to find out that she actually wanted to be kidnapped herself.
Oh.
I know.
Okay.
But kind of the foolish guys that they are, they take her into a hardy orange grove, hardy orange grove area that's like right underneath her castle. And she gets pricked by one of the thorns, and princesses are allergic to hardy oranges. I know. So she's like, hey, listen, you idiots, you just put me in a coma. And so, boom, she's out cold. So then we see two kind of cool ties to it. Because one, the only way to wake a person up from that type of sleep is to find a blue seraphim feather, which we know where we can find one of those.
Adagio should have them.
Yep. But I don't see Adagio giving one of those up very easily. And then number two is the hardy orange is the same orange that is traded with Lorelei to get the dragon eggs.
Okay.
So it's kind of a fun little tie-in. But so Blackfeather and Finn
likes oranges, right? No, she likes
peanut butter.
Peanut butter. All right. I was like, I feel like there's another point for oranges, but okay.
Yeah, something along those lines. It's like oranges and peanut butter. I know apples and peanut butter is pretty good, but
that's what happens when you're drinking and talking about fantasy lore. You're like, it all blends together sometimes.
I know. It's amazing that I can even keep this.
I know, right? I'm like, I'm amazed. I'm like,
well, as I said, number two, on my favorites list on that device. But I mean, I've probably read the lore more times than any person actually should.
Okay.
And I'm still taken to school by other people like on Twitter and on the forums, and they're like, "No, you're wrong." And I'm like, "Probably." Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So we were talking about Malene. The Grey Witch is another one. She actually steals one of Adagio's feathers, but in an alternative fate lore. I would really like to see her come to it.
Yeah. So how do you? I guess that's sidetrack. How do you feel about alternative fate lore? That's when I got really confused and kind of I stepped away a little bit from the lore because I started to feel like it got muddy for me, like trying to keep straight like what was happening and what wasn't real, because all skins now had alternative fate lore. So it got confusing for me, I guess.
Well, the easiest way to think about it is if it's a hero's base skin, it's considered canon.
Right. The
second that they put on a skin, it's considered alternative fate.
Okay.
There's a couple exceptions, and those are the Winter War, Kashka's Red Lantern Festival one.
Yeah.
Because that's actually where she meets Ozo for the first time.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And then I think there's a couple others, like very few, but...
So you have to know which skin, yeah.
Well, those are just fun for, Twitter questions.
Okay.
But so essentially, if it's the base skin and you're reading that lore, that's canon.
Okay.
That's the real story that's happening. Anything outside of those skins is just kind of fun or a what if.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So we may get a Tony alternative from this, maybe a choose your own adventure kind of path. We might get a Tony skin alternative lore.
Yeah.
Because what was our last year? Was it Varia that launched with a skin, the Winter War skin? And I think that could be a trend where we get a hero and a skin because it makes sense for money-wise. Like, oh, buy this bundle.
Hey, go for it. I have no problem with SEMC monetizing.
No, I don't. I don't care.
Exactly. I'm like, when I see those, I'm like, ice instantly. Like, yep, got to give it to those artists for coming up with something awesome. But yeah, Varia is another one that's actually considered canon.
Right, because you said the Winter War skins. Mm-hmm. And then I think the Churn, that whole world, it's canon, or it's alternative fate, but also not.
No,
right.
So the Churn is all canon.
Okay, so Churn skins are.
Oh, good point. Oh,
see, that's
man,
where
now you've got me.
See, that was the point where I was like, oh, is the Churn real, or is the Churn is real, but the skins in the Churn may not be real.
So the Churn is real, and then so you can see the Churn in certain heroes, but not in other ones. So like Churn Walker Finn, for example, or like kind of Finn's tier 1, tier 2, tier 3,
the-
or whatever they're calling them now. Bone Cruncher.
Bone Cruncher,
Yeah. Those are all our alternative fate.
Uh-huh. And same with the Rona churn.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. You know what? Actually, I don't think I've read those.
Okay. All right. You got new videos.
I know, new videos. You know, I wonder how many there are, because I've made 115 videos to date, and I'm trying to think of how many. There's like, what, 120 skins in the game now?
Is there that many?
I think so.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's quite a few, and, you know, I've done series on, like, video, you know, part 1, part 2, part 3.
Right,
so by no means is that part of it. But, yeah, it gets pretty complex.
Yeah. Man. Yeah. So kudos to you for kind of keeping it straight to some degree. And
It's
not
just repetition.
Yeah. I wonder if Sugar Venom can keep them straight, and she's writing them all, right? Or how much does she have to go back to be like, what did I say happened here?
Because we were talking about this one earlier about people, like, comments on videos or Twitter, and I will say that's one thing, is that I will put something into a video, and I will, you know, if there is even the slightest mistake, I will be called out in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Now I know one mistake that I did that I was like, it blew my mind when I figured it out.
Okay.
So when we, you know, first started playing the game, I thought the Halcyon was different than the churn.
Okay.
So you have the Halcyon Fold, you have Halcyon Energy, you've got the crystals, they're blue, they're, you know, kind of what powers everything, right? And you're like, oh, so they're going after this, you know, this well of power that's, you know, where the Halcyon is coming from. Well, the Halcyon actually comes from the churn. So the churn in small amounts gets infused in the crystal, and that's actually what they call Halcyon.
Right, because I thought the churn, if you've been playing Vainglory for a long time, had invaded the Halcyon Fold because it's like dusty, and it's kind of like it's like the Mad Max kind of put together on one side, and then the other side is like the nicer kind of camp. So it was kind of this coming together of the two worlds, which that got super lost as we got skin maps, and then the map got reskinned to this like green lush kind of realm.
Yeah, I like the green lush realm.
I like it better. I've gone back and seen videos where I'm playing, I'm like, oh, that's what it looked like, but I missed that like churniness, Mad Maxy kind of feel of it.
It did, kind of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that desert apocalyptic type area.
Yeah. How do you feel about the Sovereign's Rise, I guess, world versus the Halcyon Fold world?
Ooh, good question. 5v5 in general is just, it's a lot more fun.
Okay.
You know, I was fortunate enough to actually get to try it out in kind of the beta stage, and I remember in that part I was almost overwhelmed.
Sure, yeah, I understand that.
By what was happening in 5v5. I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm good enough at this game to really, truthfully, that's what I was thinking. But, you know, then again, I'm, you know, beta testing with like DNZO and Zio and, you know, all these professional players. And, you know, I'm sitting here, you know, maybe hotness at, you know, the best of days.
Okay.
POA at my best. I'll put that on there. I'm proud of that still. But once it kind of got out into the golden ticket, you started getting more people in, and you started seeing how it shifted out, and you're like, okay, it's, you know, I'm starting to get the hang of it. And then now that we had the launch of what, 3.1?
3.0.
Yeah, 3.0.
3.1 should launch here.
Oh yeah, that's right.
We're on or so.
Yep, it was. We're still in 2 point something during golden
12,
ticket.
yeah.
Yep, and 3.0 was the general launch. And you know, I've been having just so much fun with 5v5. Like, yeah, the strategy's great. I think that, you know, I find more and more that it fits my kind of game style.
Okay.
And so, but I think your question was more about the world.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, what do you think about that churny kind of? I guess like Halcyon Fold feels like the lower level, and like Sovereign's Rise like above everything else. It's kind of like the Storm Queen's kind of like her garden, more or less. It feels kind of like that with her dragons. And
so we actually see, like, in Churnwalker's lore, there's a map that kind of shows where everything is. And so the Halcyon Fold is actually its own little separate area.
Okay.
And then the Sovereign's Rise is on top of Mount Leal, and underneath this mountain is a giant, like probably one of the largest Halcyon wells that's out there.
Oh, okay.
And so that's kind of what fuels all of the churn and the Halcyon in the Sovereign's Rise. And so you can see a lot of the same elements that you see in the Fold as you see on the Rise, but it's kind of just, stepped up quite a bit.
I miss the purple vein crystals. Just because, everything I have is in purple. So
Well,
now
Shatter the Vain is, that's like classic right there.
I know, I need to, I guess, change it to yellow orangey now, but
I wonder if you could do half and half.
I guess. I'm just old school now at this point, right?
Because then people look at your channel and be like, what, does this guy only play 3v3?
Yeah, what's this purple world? Come on, man, go with the times.
Copyright.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So what's coming up for Halcyon Masters? What's the channel? What do you guys got planned?
So we did a Twitter poll recently that asked what everyone's favorite Valentine's Day skin was.
Okay.
And the winner of it was Dear Diary Lyra. And so I was going through when I was going through the lore and I was going through kind of what art and content was out there to kind of make the video, it was pretty basic. So, the lore is very short, and then there's really one graphic that kind of fit with it. And so I was trying to figure out, how do I make a video that's kind of intriguing and kind of fun?
Around one image.
Around one picture.
Okay.
So I ended up working on a different project in between, and a couple of my Twitter followers definitely reminded me that I put out something different in that period of time. But if you're up for it, I'll actually show you what I decided to do.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So, maybe we could do a little sneak peek on this one, but
okay.
I need to find this really quick.
Have you ever thought about, or have you made it a idea to reach out to SCMC to see if you can get any artwork of pre-hero development, or do you have any elements that went into this to help me put together these videos?
That's a great question on that one. They do a really good job for content creators of putting out it's a Google document, or it's a Google Drive that has really all the high-res photos that they have.
Yeah.
So I don't really think there's anything extra that I could get from them that they don't already provide us. So that's one nice thing. And let's see. So, you're an Adobe guy, right?
Yeah.
So I was learning a new technique, which really is kind of the 2.5D parallax effect. So
right, the Ken Burns effect.
As I scroll through this.
Nice. So we've got the flowers, the petals moving, and that looks about right.
You think that actually
Ken Burnsy,
that kind of brings this to life a little bit. And so, I hope that people see that, when they come out with a video, and that's another thing that is my, the reason that I continue to do the Heroic Ties series is really kind of a creative outlet. So, what can I learn in video editing? Can I, learn something new in Photoshop or, in the Adobe suite? And it's really a way for me to challenge myself to learn something new.
That's awesome. And having access to, that's the problem with when you start learning software or anything, you have crappy artwork that maybe you make. Yeah. So when you can use artwork from SCMC that's high res, it's quality, and be okay, let me make something out of this, manipulate it, and it makes what you're doing better as you're learning, because it's oh, this is a great image, and I put something more than just a still together. Yeah.
And for all the artists that are out there that work on this game, not only for SCMC, but also the fan artists out there, I have so much respect for those guys. Because that really that's true artwork.
Yeah. Everything like you said, the fan art, it's overwhelming, the people that put together just artwork and release it on Twitter, and just it's nice to have that platform to be I was inspired by this thing. That's something I feel I wish I had growing up. I remember looking at The Simpsons and things like that and making artwork Bart Simpson kind of drawings. But now that we have this much richer world of content, you have so many more outlets where it's I never knew this exists, and I could have done this artwork.
Exactly. Like it's that. I think back to like when growing up in elementary and middle school, I mean, Coriel Draw was like what we...
Sure.
You laugh because you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I know what it is. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
basically like, it's kind of like paint for MS. It's kind of like MS Paint, but it's...
Yeah, except even more basic.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like, all right, hey, you want to, draw a landscape on this? It's, all right, you've got green, blue, and yellow. It's like, all right,
Here we go.
That's about it.
Yeah.
And so, to have tools like this at kind of our disposal now is just fun to play with. And I mean, I geek out because, I learned how to turn, the page on Lyra's book, like in this animation. Nice. It's like something subtle, but I'm like, hey, all right, I want to learn how to do that. So let's take 15 minutes to figure out how we make the page turn just ever so slightly.
Yeah. No, that's cool. And you not being in that world and not, I guess, your goal really isn't to dive and become an animator. You're just having fun.
I'm having fun. I'm having a lot of fun.
So I think that's even better for you versus someone else who's like, I want to know how to do this. It needs to be perfect. You're also like, hey, I learned something. Let's put this out there, and it's a video. Enjoy. Yep. I'm going to make another one next week or in a couple days.
And I love the feedback on the videos. So, some people are like, oh, I loved how you did that edit. Or, like, oh, I saw that you tried this, thing. I didn't think it worked quite as well.
Okay.
Those are all good things to hear, on both sides of the spectrum.
For sure.
So enough about me for a second. I'm gonna turn the tables a little bit.
Uh-oh.
So we're on episode 195 of Shatter the Vain.
Yeah.
Which I'm super excited about. I think I was, the last time I was on here, were you in the hundreds?
For some reason, so. I feel like it was like 62 or 68. Was it that early?
It was pretty early.
Yeah.
I know.
I should have, honestly, I do poor research on my, what episode
Don't worry,
was
I was
this?
like, I should have, hey, it was the episode that I was on. If anyone should know which one it was.
So I feel like it was pre-100.
It was pre-100. So in between, I always like to ask, what are some of the standout moments on Shatter the Vain? If you can say your top 3 moments or top 3 interviews, and, I will not take offense if you don't say it's me.
Okay.
Kind of up to 195, what stood out for you?
Well, early on, it was whenever I was able to get someone from SEMC on, because when you're starting out, you're like, oh, holy crap, you guys want to be on? This is me. I will make time, because it usually happened like during the work day, so I had to reset up, and I run the business here, so I can do whatever I want. But at the same time, it's like, oh, it's the middle of the day. I have client work too, but let's figure this out. So when Playoff Beard or Kraken wanted to be on, I was like, yes, let's talk. Let's do that. That'll be great. As they grew, that became harder to do because they also it had to go through more channels and things like that. So that was definitely a standout when those people
so
come
number
on.
1 was having the members of SEMC on your channel.
Yeah. Outside of that,
I'm going to ask for 3, and you do know this.
You're going to ask for 3?
I'm asking for 3. That was the question.
I'm always amazed, like someone like Flash, I've asked him to come on before, and he'd gladly do it, and he came on when we were doing the Halcyon Report with Gangstars, he would come on all the time. So you realize, people like that who you may watch on Twitch or think are this higher level person, you're like, hey, do you want to come on? They're like, yeah, I'm free. And you're like, what, you're free? All right, sweet.
It's perfect.
So I think someone like Flash is always great, and he has great insight of the game, and he's of that world where he was just a player. I remember playing with him very early on in Vainglory, where he basically took advantage of Adagio's kit. When you could stutter step before they reworked stutter stepping, Flash was the king of that world.
Oh, his mechanics were amazing at that time. Okay, so number 1 was SEMC coming onto your channel.
Right.
Number 2 was, the professionals like Flash X.
Yeah. And then I would continue that professional world going into when I first talked to Team Secret. This was around the time that they won, I believe, the first time that they were playing as a team. It was Kalalafar, Palmatora, and Mowgli. And setting up that interview, one, like I said, with SCMC, working out the time is always an issue. And then when you add people in EU, that's always an issue too.
The time zone really starts to skew.
But those guys, they came at it at an angle where it's like, hey, we're friends and we're just having fun. And that made you realize, oh, this is kind of what you want this game to be. To some degree, now it's kind of grown, but at that time you were like, oh, you're just having fun, you're friends, hanging out, playing the game, enjoying it, and we're damn good at it too.
And being damn good at the game is certainly right.
And at that time, they were the best. They really
were.
Yeah.
I remember once queuing up in a 3-party team against Kalalafar and just getting destroyed.
Yeah.
So props.
So I think those would be my, 3 highlights. Sorry, anyone I left out.
I don't think anyone being left out can take offense to those 3.
I know I've had many people on multiple times, like Pawn by Ukrainian and Sue Generous, and I think Dienzio has been on a couple times, just talking about his different teams, and so it's always fun. Like I try to highlight so many different people from the community on here because that's what the game is. And you were saying earlier, like the community is what keeps you doing this stuff.
And I have to share this. One of my absolute favorite things about Shatter the Vain is actually hearing your guest's perspective on what the game means for them.
Yeah, okay.
And, on the way over here, I actually put on 2 times speed and I listened to your last episode as you're going through with Angel Wolf. Mm-hmm. And it was, it was great to hear his perspective with Girls in Glory, with kind of, how he's, been doing his stream and kind of your part on it and everything. And, that was one of them. I listened to Cats and Pizza the week prior to it.
Super fun.
Exactly. And so, I could tell you, that was a great episode. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Go back and listen to that one if you haven't already. And, your guests they bring such a great perspective on everything.
Mm-hmm. And I try to find people, there are a lot of people who enjoy the game and play the game, but they can't talk about the game. So that's something too. I know I've had guests who I often have to pull out questions, interview them more so than just tell me why you love the game. And you lead the episode because we're 190 in and everyone knows what I think of the game.
Yep. And, really, I don't want to pull that same question out one more time.
Right, yeah.
It's like the late night talk show host. It's, you got to give those guys credit for always coming up with something new.
I guess so, yeah. But you can only hear so many times how I love playing Catherine or what I think of this.
Without starting to go down the troll path either.
Exactly.
Be like, what if we do a Weapon Celeste?
Yeah. And so that's what happens, and so you start to talk about that. But yeah, it's always fun, and new people come into the game all the time, and I think 5v5 is going to bring in a lot of people. I know there's a lot of hope, come on guys, let's make this happen, that 5v5 is going to be big and bring in all these people. I know both of us as people who make content, let's see that happen. More people watch our stuff, I'm down.
Exactly, 100%. And that's another whole thing about, the content creation process is I want to make it so the game's more approachable and more fun for people. Uh-huh. And, that's always been part of what the Halcyon Masters and the Heroic Ties series has been, is to bring that extra layer to the game. And, if people fall in love with the story, they may fall in love with the game even more, and vice versa. And so, the wider that audience is, kind of the more that can come from that.
Definitely. Well, I love that you do something different on your channel and I do something different on my channel, and that's what kind of helps. They're not all just gameplay channels or just
Well, no one wants to watch my gameplay.
But it's helpful that everyone who makes content can bring their own personality, bring their own thought process to it, and I think that's part of Vainglory that makes it great right now. It's so small and everyone does their own thing. But as it grows, we may see some overlap, which is fine. And everyone has their own people that they like to listen to, like to watch, like to hear.
Yep. Rising tides raise all ships.
Right, exactly.
And, there's plenty of room out there. And that's another thing. For those that are interested in getting into content creation, just start. That's kind of the fun part about it. If you, do it, you'll find the community out here is very accepting for, people that are doing new and novel things that are, contribute to the game and contribute to the platform.
Yeah.
Or community, I should say.
Definitely. So I got to figure out something good to do for my 200th episode. And you got to keep cranking out those videos on your channel. And
you got a little sneak peek on...
I know, yeah. On the Lorelei video that's coming. When do you hope that's up?
That's actually going to be pretty quick. I'm debating whether I need to bribe my wife into being the voiceover for that one.
Okay.
Or if I can actually get away with it myself. So that's part of it. She looks at me and she's like, I'll be like, hey, can you play this part? And she'll just roll her eyes.
Nah, I'm going to bed.
Never. We joke on our Discord server. We have pro tips all over the place. So pro tip 52 is get good, and then I think pro tip number 11 is neglect loved ones for vainglory. And so I'll be sitting there with the boys and be like, hey, what are you up to tonight? I'm like, date night. And they'll be like, pro tip 11. And I'm like, gotta turn that one down. That's one thing that I definitely do want to try at some point in time is to get my wife in with a bunch of our other friends that I know that their significant others have never played the game before. Okay. And I'd love to do a stream where it is teams of that one.
Okay. Yeah, my wife has not played it. It is on her iPad because sometimes mine dies. So I'm like, hey, let me grab this real quick. But she's never played. She's seen the games and she's spell checks. She knows who everyone is because she spell checks all the little blurbs that go out with the videos. Yep. But she's seen them and she likes the look of Heroes of the Storm because it looks better than League of Legends. But I don't know if she's ever really noticed what Vainglory looks like. It looks the same to someone that doesn't play.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that'd be fun.
It would be kind of fun. I think if not fun, comical.
You'd probably get at least maybe 2 games, 1 for sure, out of it before everyone's like, yeah, I get it. Okay.
I think I'd get 1 game, and then she'd be like, I think she'd just get upset with me.
Okay.
We went, I took her skiing for the first time. So I grew up skiing.
Oh, never skied yet.
Never skied?
Never skied.
So this actually might resonate better than that one. So I took her up there, and day number 1, I was like, okay, I can teach you. Oh, no, if I want to stay married, nope, that was never going to happen again. And so day number 2, she got put in ski school.
Okay.
So on and so forth. I have a feeling that's exactly how Vainglory would go. It's like game number 1, it would be like, okay, I can kind of give around how that one is. Game number 2, yeah, you get paired up with Kathy, and then I'm going to take, your wife.
Okay. That's probably a better idea, yeah.
Exactly. So we'll have, opposing teams.
Okay. And we'll start 3v3 at that point.
Probably a good idea. So, anyway, I think that'd be fun. At least get her into the game so she knows why I waste so much time on it.
Yeah. Well, awesome. I think before we drink too much here, we should probably wrap this up.
I agree.
So, Jeff, where can people find you, get in touch when you're not on here or watching your videos?
So, YouTube is my main platform. Okay. Check us out, youtube.com/Halcyon Masters. We're also on Twitter at Halcyon Masters. Roxy, that one's a plug for you. You're doing a great job on the Twitter. And then, UKC is our guild tag in the game. So if you see any of us that are in there, feel free to message us in game, and always happy to play.
Awesome. And then Shatter the Vain's on Twitter at Shatter the Vain, website shatterthevain.com. Everything gets posted there. Links to iTunes, Stitcher, the YouTube version as well. And yeah, I'll be back next episode with less beer and more Vainglory.
I think so.
Well, cheers.